LittleBigPlanet is a puzzle platformer developed by Media Molecule and published by Sony Computer Entertainment exclusively for the PS3 in 2008. The game was marketed with the tagline of Play, Create, Share. It was a campaign that introduced players to the game's mechanics and put tools in the hands of the community to create their own levels and share them online. While this isn't necessarily groundbreaking today, it predates the other major titles with user-generated content such as Minecraft and Super Mario Maker. This formula gave the game a life beyond what the developers had imagined by having the community create endless amounts of content for years to come. Although LittleBigPlanet wasn't an immediate success, it did become one of PlayStation's biggest new IPs on the PS3. It also helped popularize creation tools on consoles, with over 1 million levels created 1 year after its release. Given the positive reception, Media Molecule followed up with an improved sequel in 2011, now marketed as a platform for games that gave players more tools to create their own games within LittleBigPlanet. After the release of the sequel, Media Molecule handed off the franchise to work on other projects, which led to multiple spin-offs, a sequel on the PS4, and a new big adventure on the PS5.
This squidgy little production is brought to you by PlayStation 3. Oh, okay then. And my little buddy Sackboy. How could I forget you?
Prior to the formation of the British developer Media Molecule, several key members worked at Lionhead Studios, who are most notably known for the Fable series. During their time there, they worked on Ragdoll Kung Fu, which inspired a new idea. This led to the development of a prototype that would become their first project after leaving Lionhead Studios. Once they formed their own studio, they met with Sony Computer Entertainment to pitch their idea. Sony was impressed by the physics of their prototype, known as Craft World, and gave the small studio funding for 6 months. After a second meeting, Sony offered them further funding for an exclusive title on the PS3 and the rights to the IP. Although Media Molecule hadn't fully figured out the focus of the game, Sony's support reassured them, but also put a lot of pressure on the team. The studio reaffirmed their confidence in the project after they publicly presented the demo at the Game Developers Conference in 2007, where it received praise for its innovative ideas. Leading up to the release of LittleBigPlanet, creative director of Media Molecule, Mark Healy, shared in an interview their experience of working on the game as a small studio. He explained that they chose to approach the game with the community in mind because their studio only had 28 employees working on the game, which limited the amount of content that they could create. Healy further shared, "I know it has the potential to mature like a fine wine, and I can't wait to see what people make with the tools over time." He also clarified that even if players didn't want to create anything, the game still had enough entertainment to keep them busy for hours, with the campaign which tried to encourage those who did want to create to be a part of the process.
Okay, next on the agenda, new building materials for LittleBigPlanet. Any motions?
Blow things up!
Not exactly constructive, Agnes, but duly noted.
Now, looking at the game, it drops players into the world known as LittleBigPlanet. Throughout the campaign, players will explore the world, going from one continent to another with levels based on real-world locations. Players start off in Europe and make their way to Africa, travel through the Americas, and finally Asia. Each level is unique as it reflects the continent that inspired it. Africa takes players through the savannah, Latin America shows the rich culture of art, and North America puts players in metropolitan cities that will test your platform precision. Each continent is also accompanied by different music with some original songs as well as licensed songs from around the world that fit the location. For example, one of the standout tracks for me was Mexican rock band Café Tacuba's Volver a Comenzar, featured in the wedding level in South America. It was great to see the inclusion of this song and many others in the game, as it introduced plenty of players to these catchy tunes that are now associated with LittleBigPlanet. As previously mentioned, the main selling point of LittleBigPlanet was the ability to play, create, and share, which required the dedication and creativity of the community to keep the game thriving. Media Molecule was able to keep the player base engaged by releasing multiple downloadable content packs over time. Some of these packs included themed costume sets and new level packs, such as Metal Gear Solid, and other licensed content like the Pirates of the Caribbean pack. The additional content gave players new items to decorate and create their own levels centered around the theme of each pack. Media Molecule selected members of the community to help build levels for the Game of the Year re-release, which also included a sack full of bonus content. They continued to keep the player base together even after the release of LittleBigPlanet 2 and 3, as all games ran on the same server. This meant that all levels created in the first game were playable in the second and third game, now with upgraded visuals and creation tools, resulting in a total of over 10 million user-generated levels across the franchise by 2017. While Media Molecule and their successor, Sumo Digital, were able to keep the LittleBigPlanet community engaged for over 13 years, it all came to a halt when the servers started to face issues and ongoing attacks by hackers. Throughout early 2021, the servers across all three main games went offline for some time. The official LittleBigPlanet Twitter account stated that they were working on security updates for the first game. Due to all three games sharing the same server, if one went offline, then all three were also offline. This meant that players could no longer share or download levels. During this time, players were still able to play the campaign and create levels, but had no access to the online component for months. Sadly, in late 2021, another statement announced that the servers for all three games on the PS3 were permanently shut down to keep the community safe. From a business perspective, it's not worth it to keep the servers up for an aging game with a dwindling player base. But from the player's point of view, an entire portion along with all the community created content over the years were no longer playable on the PS3. However, not all was lost, as the PS4 version of LittleBigPlanet 3 received an update to restore its online servers, which included the millions of levels created across the franchise. While this was good news for some players, it left many others who were still on the PS3 upset, as an entire generation of the franchise was shut down. The campaigns are still playable today, and players can still create levels, but the online community that made the games popular was gone without a notice. Even the massively popular Halo franchise on the Xbox 360 saw 4 of its games shut down in early 2022, a reminder that even the popularity of a franchise can't keep it online forever without a sufficient player base to support it. As for LittleBigPlanet, the franchise continues with a spin-off platformer on the PS5, but without the creation aspect that made the games popular, leaving players to hope for an eventual LittleBigPlanet 4. However, other games, such as Super Mario Maker 2, have taken over the mantle, following the same formula with over 26 million courses created since its 2019 release on the Nintendo Switch. Although Sackboy: A Big Adventure wasn't the game that longtime LittleBigPlanet fans wanted, it does continue the legacy of an enduring mascot that Media Molecule crafted, one that stands alongside other great PlayStation icons such as Nathan Drake and Kratos.
Okay everyone, break is over.
Purchase for the PS3 includes downloadable PS Vita version.
PlayStation.